Guys, good morning, everyone. So today we are looking at mitosis. Okay? Last time we looked at the cell cycle. Today we're looking at mitosis. We're going into a very important step of processes in the cell cycle. Okay? So, guys, before we start, just a few reminders. Raise your hands if you have any questions. Be respectful of your teacher and your classmates. Please do not use your electronic devices unless you're directed to do so, okay? One person at a time if you have to use the restroom, okay? All right, so today we are going to describe what happens during the phases of mitosis, and we're also going to investigate how daughter cells split apart after mitosis, okay? So, for your bell ringer, what I want you guys to do for the next couple of minutes is I want you to kind of jog your memory from last class and try to remember and talk to your groups about this. What types of cells undergo mitosis only? Name the cell types, okay? So, last time I briefly discussed the cell cycles and the different types of cells involved in mitosis and meiosis. I want you guys to see if you can try to remember what the cell types were. Okay? And I will give you a hint. The hint is they are in you, they're a part of you. Okay? Technically, all of us have them, right? So I want you guys to think about what types of cells, talk to your groups about it. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Oh, that's what I said.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I heard some conversations. What types of cells? I heard some people say reproductive cells. They're called gametes, right? Gametes. So, do those undergo mitosis? What do you think? Yes or no?
No.
Right, so that's correct, right? So gametes or sex cells, they undergo meiosis, not mitosis, right? Because in meiosis you have a point where the parts of the cells that cross over, chromosomes that cross over, and you get genetic differences, right? So you wouldn't have gametes or sex cells. But what other types of cells?
There's somatic cells, which are our body cells that are germ cells, which are sex cells.
Awesome. Okay, good. Everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Everyone hear what she said? So, they're somatic cells, body cells, yes. Yeah, no problem. So, there's body cells. So, for example, we think of nerves, right?
What'd you say?
We think of like skin cells, muscle cells, blood cells, liver cells, nerve cells, right? Usually these cells make up organs in the body, right? Because remember, you need the same cell being produced and produced and produced and produced to make an organ, right? Eventually. Does that make sense? Are we good? Do we have any questions about that? No? Okay. Alright, so we're gonna get more specific. So we have chromosomes, right? Chromosomes, they hold DNA, right? This is just a little diagram. Let me remove this. So, in eukaryotic cells, right? I'm just gonna jump through these next few slides. This is just for context, right? DNA is packed into multiple chromosomes, right? We know the double helix, that's the structure of DNA, and they're wrapped around with proteins. They're coiled into chromosomes, right? These are the parts of chromosomes. We're gonna get into more detail about that next class, right? we talk about prokaryotic cells. So this talks about duplication, where the DNA duplicates, and the cell membrane, it indents or they fold and they split apart and it forms two new cells, right? And with eukaryotic cell types, which is what we spoke about earlier, we have the whole cell cycle, right? You guys remember this from last time? You guys remember the simulation that we did, the little game? For you guys? Okay, good. So we're gonna focus on this step here. That's a part of M phase, okay? Mitosis, and we're also gonna focus on cytokinesis. So we're right here in the cell cycle, right? So we go from G1 to the S phase to G2, and we're in the M phase now, okay? So there are certain steps, right? So we go from interphase. Interphase is first, right? That's your G1, your S, and your G2. That leads into the M phase, which begins mitosis. Does that make sense? So remember, interphase is first, okay? This is before mitosis, right? Then we move on to prophase, right? So prophase is where your nucleus condenses and the chromosomes become more visible, and you have this thing called a spindle that begins to form. So do you guys know what spindle means? So we think of spindles like yeah, like fibers. So a lot of people that make clothing, like they have spindles of thread, right, that they use to get certain colors, certain designs, etc., right? We have the same thing happening here in our chromosomes, right? We have a spindle forming, and this happens during prophase, right? Then we have a metaphase. So with metaphase, right, as we can see, we have the spindles, they go to both sides of the chromosomes, and we have the chromosomes that line up in the center, okay? So what was the first step of mitosis called? Remember, interphase is not a part of prophase, right? Interphase is before mitosis starts, right? First step is prophase, the second phase is called metaphase, right? So this is where your chromosomes line up at the center of the cell. In prophase, in the beginning, your chromosomes are there, the spindle is forming, right? But they haven't lined up yet, right? So your chromosomes are going to line up, and afterwards we get anaphase. Oh, sorry. So another slide. So we have chromatids, sister chromatids, they line up. Right here in the middle of your chromosomes, you have the centromere. Okay? So these spindles are going to stick to the centromeres in metaphase. Does that make sense? So your chromosomes are like X's, right? And in the middle of the X, your spindle fibers are going to connect to the centromere, right? And now at anaphase, right? Anaphase, your chromosomes are going to move towards opposite sides of the poles, right? So they've stuck onto the centromere, right? The spindles have stuck onto the centromere. Now they're starting to split apart, right? With anaphase, okay? Does that make sense? So what's the first step of mitosis called? Prophase, right? What's the second step? Metaphase. What's the third step? Anaphase, right? Awesome. Okay. Now, again, we have individual chromosomes. We have telophase, right? So telophase is where the cell begins to divide into daughter cells. Okay? So think about it that we have a set of these chromatids that move to the side with the spindles, and your one cell begins to split up into two, right? We have a nuclear envelope that starts to reform at this point. And then we have cytokinesis. This is where the cell membrane is gonna pinch in the center, and this is gonna actually form two separate cells at this point, okay? So this is what causes you to have identical cells being formed. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So, what is this that I have over here? What's this diagram look like? Mitosis and meiosis, right? So, in meiosis, which we're not really going to cover today, but mitosis is a part of meiosis, right? But in these diagrams, as you can see, we have the beginning part is meiosis, the second part is mitosis, which is what you guys just learned, right? You guys can tell? Yes? Okay. We're gonna use these for our next activity, okay? So, we start off at interphase, right? Interphase is before mitosis begins, right? Then we have prophase. What's the second step? Metaphase, right? Good. What's the third step? Anaphase, good. Telophase, okay? Alright. And then we have cytokinesis, okay? Alright, so now, what I want you guys to do is grab your iPads, and I want you to go to this tiny link for me, http //tiny.cc/zj71101, okay? And when you click on that link, there's going to be a simulation, which I'll show you guys in a second. So we have this little activity that we're going to do. So this should be the page that opens up when you go to the link, right? And pretty simple game, right? Let's play over here, and we see a highlighted word, right? A highlighted part of mitosis. And we're gonna just click the little blue dots next to the diagram of which step is it following. Okay? Does that make sense? So if I think telophase is the third step, I'm gonna click the blue, right? And it just told me I'm wrong because I was wrong, right? Okay? So I want you guys to work on the quizzes. I'm passing out these worksheets. I also want you guys to record your answers on this as well. This has numbers on it. I need you to write what phase you're in. And afterwards, what I want you guys to do is I want you to draw next to it, in the space next to it, what you think would happen if each step didn't happen how it was supposed to happen. Does that make sense? So the second step is here. Draw what you think would happen in the cell if each step is disrupted or changed. Share it with your neighbors, guys. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you're gonna draw next to each step and draw what you think the cell would look like if each step didn't happen, or if there was a mutation, something changed, what happened in the cell. What is step 1 in the diagram? Interphase, right? Okay, good. What is state number 2 in
Prophase.
Prophase, awesome. What is step 3?
Anaphase.
Anaphase. What's step 4?
Anaphase.
Anaphase, right? Step 4 is anaphase. What's step 5?
Telophase.
Telophase, awesome. Alright, and what's step 6?
Cytokinesis.
Cytokinesis. Did we get that?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Alright, anyone want to share their drawing? Anybody want to share their drawing? I saw some nice drawings.
Want me to read what I? Yeah. You can read this.
Alright, so one of your classmates, what they did was they wrote out the scenario, right? What they think would happen. So if each step didn't happen, how it's supposed to happen, there wouldn't be life or extreme genetic mutations to the point of having no abilities or any functional vital organs. Okay? So what they described was like the main consequence of this not happening, right? So you would have mutated cells that would form, right? And you wouldn't have a proper or functional body, right? Anyone else have that? Anybody else draw that? No? We draw other things? Good. Anybody else have any ideas of what would happen? Yes? Awesome. Right, so another one of your classmates, they drew that, a spindle wouldn't form, a spindle wouldn't connect the chromosomes, things like that, right? That's something possible that could happen, right? Okay, good, awesome. Alright, so the reason I asked you guys that question is because this is unfortunately something that happens and causes a lot of medical conditions, right? Yes?
Is there also a high risk of cancer with that?
Yeah, there could be if division happens too much, right? So,
But that's why we have the P45, right?
so,
And a gene called P44, something like that, that's what causes cancer.
alright, so, we're gonna move on to our Wayground quiz. So I'm gonna log into the Wayground system. I need you guys to do the quiz, please. So what I need you guys to do is to grab your devices. You're gonna go to joinmyquiz.com, enter this code 32710334, and I need you guys to join. I need everybody to do this. Come on, guys. Alright. So last time you guys took the quiz, you guys got the average for the class was of 40%, and now it looks like we're close to 70%. So that's a really good improvement. So good job, guys. It's a lot better than what we did last time. Okay. All right. So. Make sure that you finish your drawings and you finish your work. If you guys can show me the show of fingers from fingers 1 to 4. If you guys can show me how difficult was the quiz? With 1 being easy, 4 being difficult. 2, 1s, 2. Alright, 1s and 2s. Alright, I'll take it. Alright, awesome. Okay. Alright, thank you guys. I appreciate that.